Hello everyone and welcome to the Navin Times Talk from the Heart. Our guest today is known as India's Wonder Girl. At the age of 13, she stunned the world with her intelligence when she completed her grade 12 at the age of 13. And now in a few weeks' time, she's going to complete her master's. Languages and accents are her forte. At 18, she is already a motivational speaker and an accent trainer. It's a pleasure to be speaking with Janhavi Panwar. Hello Janvi and welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
We have been waiting to speak with you because accents is not something that is very common. It's not an option that many take. However, you, as I have said in my introduction, are very interested in languages and accents. So how did your journey begin, Janvi?
Actually, it began even before I was born. It all started when my father started going for company interviews and, when everyone just searched for employment. So that was the time when he was also like in his 20s. So every company he went to, I come from a very typical Haryanvi family. And so does my dad, apparently. But when he used to go to these interviews in like metropolitan cities, for example, Delhi, so over there, they always used to give an edge to people who used to talk in English. And my dad was not very fluent in English. And even when he was, there was this sort of Haryanvi touch in his accent at that time, but not anymore. But still, they always used to give this edge to people who used to talk in English, and he never got selected for this one. So I always thought of this thing is that when his kids are going to be born, so they're not going to face the same problem with English. So when I was born, now he's not much fluent in English, but he still started talking with me in English. So every time he talked with me in English. I learned Haryanvi and Hindi from my surroundings, from my family, my relatives, and our neighborhood. And other than that, I learned English like little bit from my dad. And so after that, when I was 8 years of age, when I was completely fluent in English, then we used to go to these places, Red Fort and Taj Mahal, and just to talk with foreigners because there was no one to practice with. So what's the better point? So we always went to these places, these historical monuments, because we always found foreigners over there. And when I used to go over there, I used to talk with them like, could I please have a minute of yours? I really want to talk with you just to improve my English. And also I used to talk with them. So I started watching BBC and CNN News again to improve my English. And that's when it clicked me. Like, why do they have such a different accent? Like, why are they eating their T's? Why are they rolling their tongues when they speak their R's? Why are they eating half of their letters? What is wrong with these people? Then my dad told me that it's their accent. Just like you have your dialect Haryanvi, it's their dialects, their way of speaking English. It's like, I'm interested in this thing. I also want to roll my tongue, and I also want to eat most of the words that they, just like the way they do. And he goes like, okay. So that's when it clicked me, like, yes, I gotta learn accents. Then it's been a long journey since then to learn accents.
You said your dad started and planned this even before you were born. Now that's what I call advanced planning. But Janvi, it's so commendable how your dad, like you said, he doesn't really speak very fluent English and he has an accent, and still he has brought you up, and today you are where you are. Now you just spoke and said that you used to go to some of the places like Red Fort and such to meet foreigners and learn their accents. How old were you at that time?
We started going to places like this, since I was like 3 and 4. And since then I've been going to places like this. But for the accent thing, it only clicked me when I was 8 years of age and I started watching BBC and CNN News. Otherwise, we were just going to places like this just to improve my fluency, because I knew English, but I always needed like a little bit of polishing. So for that, we used to go to places like this.
So when you approach people, even if it was 3 or even if you were 8, it is very intimidating for a child to speak to strangers. How did you gather courage? Weren't you hesitant? didn't people brush you off?
In my life, I don't think I've ever used the word hesitant for me or for my dad, because we're pretty bold in that thing. I mean, my dad has always taught me to be confident, and there was no other option. Like, you can be hesitant. No, there is not any option to be like that. Like, if you're gonna have to speak on stage, then Janvi, you are speaking on stage. There is no option of sitting over here being hesitant and being intimidated of people. Not an option. So this is what always happened with me when I was younger. My dad has this amazing parenting skill. So he used to like leave me alone in metros, and he used to go like, okay, you find the map, you search like where do we have to go. You look at the map and then tell me how are we going to do that. You go on and you buy the ticket. So he used to do stuff like this with me. And then when we used to travel on his bike, so he always used to be like, all right, scream as high as you can, scream as louder as you can. So there was not any option to be intimidated of people. So whenever I used to go to them, I was always confident. And even if somebody, I think hesitancy was a point when somebody said, no, we don't have enough time for you. All right, so no need to be negative in that point. So you can go and talk to some other person. So I don't think I've ever learned the option. And I consider myself very lucky that I never have the option of being intimidated by someone, because I'm pretty confident. Not to sound like a narcissistic, but yeah, I am pretty lucky for this thing.
That's great. It's so commendable. At 18, you are so confident. You're speaking well, and your communication skills, of course, are really good. Now, you said the first step was going and speaking with people. You speak to foreigners to understand their accent. And then you said you started watching BBC. So what exactly were you looking at? Was it just the BBC News? Were there other programs that you were watching?
No, it was just the BBC News. Actually, the problem is that there was no one with whom I can practice with, or there was no one with whom, I can just talk with. Because everyone I talk with, even now, everyone talks in Haryanvi, even I do. So at that time, I really needed someone to, watch and then just, I think, when you learn a language, you really need to fit in that surrounding. Like, you need to surround yourself with that language. So in order to do that, I started watching news. Just like there is Hindi news, my dad told me there is English news as well. And I was like, there must be some British news and American news as well. Yeah, right? I was a curious kid. I can definitely say that. So then my dad got this subscription of BBC and CNN. And from over there, my interest, my curiosity, it really intrigued me how these people spoke. And then I also developed like a really great curiosity in journalism as well. So I always used to think like, oh, I'm going to become an anchor. I'm going to become a BBC News anchor. And, I really want to go to BBC. And when I was 14, BBC invited me. And there I was for an interview with him. So it was a really great journey. So yeah, that's when I started copying those people, mimicking their accents. So it all started, the accent journey, it all started from watching television, watching news, watching BBC and CNN, and Al Jazeera as well.
Okay, but you also said that you needed people to speak with. Learning an accent just from the computer or from TV is what you're learning. But how did you practice this? Like, whom did you speak with to brush on your skills?
Well, whenever I needed to speak with anyone, there was always the option of going to Red Fort and speaking with foreigners. So that was always a great deal. And we actually went to a lot of places in like other metropolitan cities as well. But every time we used to go to some institute, some English institute, everyone used to be like, oh, she's a kid. We're not going to talk to her. She's such a kid. So definitely not talking with her. So what to do now? So me and my dad, we literally roamed on every English institute in Delhi and other cities as well, just so somebody can just make me sit in their class and I can just listen to them and can just talk with other students. Even if not of my age, I can talk with the older students. I have no problem in that. But there's always this ego, people carries around. Like, no, we're not going to talk to a little girl. That's going to hurt our ego. So this was, I think, what was going inside their mind. So they never really liked talking with a kid. So the kid only had one option, go to Redford again and start talking with foreigners again. So that was one thing. Another thing, we found a very, very great teacher. Her name is Rekha Mahajan. Somebody recommended her. So from Smalka, which is my town, we used to go to the district, which is Panipat. So it takes like 40 minutes one way and 40 minutes back to our house. So we used to daily, me and my dad, we used to travel on bike daily just to go to that teacher. And then she used to teach IELTS students. So IELTS students who were like 23, 24, master student. And I was like 8 years old. So I used to sit with those kids. I used to do like IELTS exams, listening, speaking, reading, writing. And then when students used to get like their topic, so I used to speak as well. You know, ma'am was like, all right, you come as well. If you have any ideas, come up and speak. So whenever ma'am was sick, like after 2 months, my teacher got sick. And I was the one who was teaching all of those masters and IELTS students, like, come on, I'm going to be your teacher today. I'm going to give you a topic. You're going to come up here and you're going to speak. So that's how my journey, you know, it just went on and on and on. So we searched a lot, we seeked a lot, we traveled a lot, just so we can find someone with whom I can talk with. Because to learn a language, you always need a great practice. So that's what we did.
Right. At present, how many different accents do you know?
I speak in 9 different accents. Those are British, American, RP, Posh, Australian, Scottish, Canadian, Norfolk, Cockney. Then I've also done a diploma in my French language. I have done my Japanese language level N3, and also learning Spanish, like literally just started a few months back, and Hindi and Haryanvi, of course.
Right, right. But you just spoke about RP. We know about the others. We've heard about the others. What exactly is RP, and how is it different from the regular British accent?
Regular British accent is more like, you know, it can be very classy. RP is very classy. RP is received pronunciation. It came around in Britain in like 1990s. That's when it came. So when I first started learning British accent, RP was the accent which I got familiar with. So there was a lot of, not like too much of a difference, but if you're going to look at the phonetics of both the accents, so the phonetic transcription of both the accent is very different. So that makes the accent different as well. So whenever I started learning an accent, I always pick, otherwise, you know, if I'm just going to say, speak in an accent, people are going to say, you're just mimicking an accent. So there is no big deal in that. So what I did was I always looked for the nice phonetic transcription. So that's when it hit me, like British and received pronunciation are actually different. The way their diphthongs are pronounced, they are different. Their syllable stress are different in most of the places. And after RP, that's when I started learning the Queen's English, the posh English, you know, the metropolitan, the rich people speak that English, the royal people. So that's when the Queen's English, basically. And after that, I came to know about more dialects, like Norfolk, which is like the oldest accent dialect, and then the Cockney, even more old. So yeah, that's just how, when you start learning an accent, you just become familiar with more and more dialects and accent.
So you said the RP accent, it is just basically the stress on the different vowels and things like, and the consonants and stuff. Can you give us an example or sentence that you can speak in British English and RP, so we know the difference?
Well, I can speak a sentence in every accent I know, if that's not a problem.
It's up to you. The floor is yours. You tell us which accent you want to speak with.
That, you know, she gonna talk in all of the accents. All right, well then. Okay, starting with the British accent first. Hey, I'm super happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. American, I'm very happy to be here. You know, thanks so much for having me. And it's such a pleasure joining you. RP is received pronunciation. When I first started learning this accent, it was all like, oh, this is another British accent, but it's not. You know, the kind of syllable stress these people have are kind of different. And if you're going to compare it with a British accent, they speak kind of like this. Oh, the stress we have, it's a little different for RP, and, you know, the intonation as well. So kind of just a mild bit of difference. But if you're going to take a look at the phonetic transcription of words, then it makes a lot of difference, and that's what I did. And Australian, hey mate, I'm super happy to be here, eh? Thanks so much for having me. And I just want to say it's not a biggie, like you've just joined me, such a pleasure, thank you. Scottish, what a pleasure joining you. Thank you so much everybody who are listening to me, and thank you so much Maria for having me here. It's such a pleasure joining you. Norfolk, hey, what a pleasure, mate. And I just want to say it's no, like basically I'm super happy to be here, so thanks so much. French. Salut, Jean-Pierre Janvi, what do we say? Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais devenir les nouvelles. And Japanese. Konnichiwa, watashi wa Janvi desu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Arigatou gozaimasu. एंड हिंदी आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि मैं भी आपके साथ हूँ और मुझे यहाँ पर आकर काफी खुशी हुई. हरियाणवी आपने मैं बुलाई आ रहा है और आपका धन्यवाद और मैंने कहना बढ़िया लगा आपसे बात करके.
That is so awesome. Janvi is
Thank
so
you.
lovely. And you say, you speak so smoothly. And so you can see the amount of work that has gone in, and of course the time and effort. Right? Now, from all the accents that you have learned, which did you find the easiest and which did you find the most difficult?
I think the easiest accent is probably American, because American keeps it very chill and very laid back. You know, they just let words slip out of their mouth. And whereas I think I'll give the hardest one to Scottish, because it's very different from the accents that I learned, from the accents that I do. And Scottish is like, you know, speaking your R in a whole different way. And then there are just too many other. Basically, there was a lot of difference, but it was not like much big of a deal, because it just intrigued me more and more. At first, you know, and I really don't want to sound offensive, I kind of find it funny, because that's not that kind of accent I was looking for. But still, it was amazing when I started learning it. Intrigued me the most, and the most interesting accent out there. So I think I'll give that to Scottish.
Scottish. Okay, Scottish gets full marks there.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Now, besides speaking to people, watching programs, you said you also had some classes where your teacher from Panipat was teaching you. Did you have any tutorials over, you know, on your computer? Did you buy some programs where you could learn accents as well?
Yes, for accents, you know, again, we travel to a lot of places first, because that's our always first step is, you know, if you can get offline classes anywhere for accents. But at that time, nobody even knew about accents, what accents are. And people used to pronounce accent as accent at that time. And so the places we used to go to, nobody was aware of accents. We even went to this British place, which is very famous in India. We even went over there and they were like, we don't teach accents. No, we just teach English. And she already knows English, so take her out of here. It's like, okay. Then I started watching some YouTube tutorials at first. So after YouTube tutorials, I used to mimic those people, you know, used to learn the R sounds, the rules. So I was pretty grateful for all of these YouTube tutorials. But then again, you need some great phonetic classes to master an accent. Otherwise, people are just going to say, oh, you're mimicking an accent. And that's what people used to say to me. You're just mimicking. It's no big deal. Anybody can do that. All right. So, you know, now I'm learning in my master's about phonetic transcriptions and everything. But when I was 8, my dad told me is that there is this thing called phonetics. My dad is literally an intellectual, and I feel so proud that I have him as my dad. And so he told me, like, there is something regarding phonetics and everything. So my dad also did a master's in English language as well. So he taught me if you have got phonetics, and that teaches you how you pronounce certain words, how you pronounce certain syllables. So that's when I started learning about different accents. So my dad only told me like there is something called phonetics. I researched on every, on every social platform if I found any article or any news, not news, but any article basically regarding phonetics, what phonetics are, how do we pronounce such things. I took help of a dictionary. I literally kept a dictionary with me. Okay, this word, this is the phonetic transcription of this word. So basically, we're going to pronounce this word like this. And then I used to listen to people, like I used to listen to news and listen to people on YouTube and on different sites on Google, like how are they pronouncing that certain word, and used to practice it the whole day. Basically, whenever I started talking in English, so I used to speak in an accent. Otherwise, you lose practice. People think it's okay for them to practice for like 20 minutes a day. It's not. You know, if you're just gonna practice on a thing for just like 20 minutes the whole day, you're gonna make it your dominant practice. Like that's what you're speaking. If you're learning an accent, you gotta speak in an accent for the whole day. Doesn't matter, you know, if you're speaking in English with normal people. No, you just have to talk in an accent to practice more. So that's what I did. It was a lot of effort, but it was interesting as well. Pretty great.
You're so right when you say that you need to practice it, and you need to, that practice period has to, you know, extend over a lot of time. Now, how many hours did you spend approximately, 5, 10, 12 in a day on your accent training?
I actually, when I was in ninth standard, actually eighth standard, when I was 9 years of age, I stopped going to school. I still went to school, but only on like important days, and so I used to study at home. So when I used to study at home, all of my academic books, so I used to read them out loud in an accent. So basically, first 5 hours in a day, so reading out loud in accent, American accent, British accent. Then I used to go to some tuitions. So over there also, whenever somebody used to talk with me in English, I used to talk in an accent, like when I was in Panipat. When I used to come back home, I used to watch tutorials and, used to practice all of the like learning new rules, learning new phonetics for like 1 hour or for 1.5 hours. And then for 1 hour again, for half an hour again, I used to watch BBC or CNN News. And after watching both of those news, I used to repeat the whole thing in front of my dad in the same accent, with every reporter, with every journalist, and with the same news exactly. So that's what I used to do. So basically, I guess 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours in a day. Yeah.
That's a lot of time. So you have completed, as I said in my introduction, you have completed your grade 12 at the age of 13. So accents and academics, how did you find that balance?
It was not very difficult, actually. It always gave me this confidence, like, I'm doing something unique, I'm doing something more interesting than other people. So I always had this thing. My dad always, my mom actually, not my dad, because my dad usually gets mad, like, why don't you study? What kind of kid do I have? She doesn't study. But my mom always taught me to look on the positive side of things. There is always something positive. So I'm really happy, like, my mom always taught me this thing, is that look on the positive sides. So I never really had like the real school experience with other kids, because I was the younger one. I was always the younger one from university, schools, post-graduation, always the younger one. So people never really, liked to talk with me. Like, she is a kid, she's not going to understand what we were saying. They used to talk about ghosts. They used to talk about the serials they used to watch. I was like, let's talk about BBC News, shall we? Or let's talk about this cartoon. And she was like, you still watch cartoons? Who watch cartoons? Okay, I watch cartoons in English. Dude, we're talking about serials. Get out of here. All right. So I never really had that kind of school experience. But still, I always find like, learning English, and if I knew English, so whenever I used to read like science books or SST books, I always had an understanding like, okay, this is what he's trying to say, the author is trying to say. So it never really took me more than one read to read the same chapter again, just to grasp the fact. Because whenever I still read only for one time, I understand basically.
So basically, your understanding improved due to your command over the language as well as different accents. Is that what you're saying?
My command on English made me understood a lot of things in my academics. So yeah, I kind of kept a balance between both of these things. And I've never really focused on this, like there's a lot of pressure or there is a lot of stress, because if you're not going to become familiar with a word, you're not going to feel those sort of things, those the feelings those word carries. So that's what I did. I never really focused or never really learned about those words, and still don't.
You are completing your master's in a few weeks, as you had told me earlier. What are you pursuing? Oh, in 4 days. Yippee. So which are your subjects? What stream are you in?
English literature. I studied like non-medical, art, humanities. I basically studied 3 streams in my class, 11th and 12th. And then in graduation, I studied economics and political science, mass communication, business communication, just like Bachelor of Arts. But the only field of English that I haven't touched up until now was literature. So I always thought like, I really want to learn literature. A lot of people have told me like, have you ever tried literature, read literature? So I always thought like, okay, post-graduation, it's going to be in English literature. So that's what I opted for.
Right. You spoke about, your understanding of whatever you read, especially your books from college. You have a better understanding due to your command over the language. Now, besides that, what do you consider are some other benefits of learning languages, of learning accents?
I think for me, I started because it was just a passion of mine, like an interest of mine. But now that I'm becoming older, I also see it as basically like a career of mine, Because languages and accents, whenever you go to an MNC for a multinational company, or whenever you work in a call center, or if you work in like some BPO, it always helps over there. I used to work in a recruiting company just to get an experience. The CEO contacted me, like, we have some American customers, if you can talk with them in an American accent. I was like, sure, why not? So I used to work for like 4 hours, and the thing is that if people have somebody, like, for example, we can just take our example. If somebody's going to talk with me in Haryanvi, I'm going to get a home feeling, like, my person, my kind of people. If somebody's going to talk in Hindi, you're always going to get this feeling, oh, our kind of people. So it's the same way that you're going to talk with them in their accent, in their language, also going to get, oh, our kind of people, we can be familiar with them. We can tell them a lot of things. So this is what happens. So whenever you work in like an MNC, or whenever you work in BPOs and call center, or for IELTS students, it's very important. Like, students, they do IELTS over here, yes, but when they go to Canada or to America, to Australia, to New Zealand, basically any country, they have a hard time understanding people's accent, and they have a hard time making people understand what they're trying to say because of their accent. So sometimes it's important that you have a little grasp over accents so that you can understand people and you can make people understand what you're trying to say. And for language, it's all about, if you really want to serve your country, if you really want to represent your country in a different country, so on a global level, so it's important that you also know their language. And there are a lot of career benefits as well, like becoming a translator, or having like career opportunities to teach people different languages just for their interest. Because I'm going to consider this personally, is that when I was younger, there was literally no one who taught me accents, no one, and literally no one in India. And now that I started speaking accents, there are so many people with accent institutes who still do not teach accents, just with the name of accent they teach English. But yes, now people are becoming familiar with what accents are. So I think this is what I really need to do, is that something that I did not find when I was younger, I want people to find that. Basically the younger kids to find, like, yes, they can learn language somewhere. There is a platform where they can learn their accents and languages.
It's time for a break. We are speaking with Janvi, and she has lots of interesting stuff more to tell us and share with us. We'll be back in a moment. Hello and welcome back. We are in conversation with Janvi. You are watching the Navin Times Talk from the Heart. Janvi is an expert in accents as well as languages. She loves languages, and she has been telling us some really interesting things. Janvi, you were telling us the importance and the benefits of learning languages, of accents, and I do agree with you. It has so many benefits, and the most important thing is, I believe, is that when you speak to people in their own accents, it helps you to connect with people. And today it's all about connections, it's all about relationships, and languages help, accents help. When you started learning, for a Haryanvi girl, when you started learning English, when you started learning accents, more than English is accents, there must have been a lot of hurdles. There must have been a lot of flack that you must have received from people. Can you share with us what it has been like?
I wouldn't consider my hurdles as hurdles or obstacles. I'm just gonna say is that it's like a journey everyone has to go through. It makes it good for the autobiography, so it makes a good story for that. And I just want to say is that when I started first learning accent and started talking in English, so people over here used to call me an Angrez all of the time, like, tu Angrez aada hai na? So yeah, they used to call me an Angrez, but after that, I never really had friends in school, as I said, because again, students used to mock me for being too British or for being too American. And I always used to tell them is that it's just an interest of mine. Speaking in a language or speaking in an accent doesn't make me any less Indian and doesn't make me any less proud Haryanvi. So But still, people did used to mock me a lot, and the main criticism was when I first started learning English. So people used to say, oh, if you're going to go to Delhi or some other metropolitan city, every kid speaks English over there, there's nothing unique you have. Then I started mimicking accents, so people were like, you just mimic accents, there's nothing unique in that. Then I started looking at the phonetic transcriptions. People were like, okay, you know, two accents, big deal. Then I started learning more accents. All right, just accents. Then I started learning languages. All right, what are you going to say on stage when people see you as a role model? Then I became a motivational speaker. Is that I'm going to motivate people. This is how they are supposed to do stuff. That is what I'm going to do. What else can you do? Well, I can definitely read news in the style of BBC and CNN. I'm a motivational speaker. And what else can you do for people? Well, I can open a YouTube channel to teach people. And over there, I have more than 8,96,000 subscribers, I guess. So yeah,
Wow.
still count. Yeah. So now I'm an accent trainer as well, so that people who really have an interest and really want to learn an accent can learn. So yeah, there were hurdles and obstacles for not finding teachers, for people's criticisms, them mocking me, but now it's all going great. Someday I'll write an autobiography and I'll write all of these things. It's gonna become a great story.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It must have been very eventful to reach where you have reached. In 4 days, like you said, you are going to be completing your master's. What's next for you, Janvi?
Next, I'll be doing a PhD. I really, really want to be called Dr. Janhavi, but yeah, I really want to do a PhD in phonetics, of course, because that's my forte, that's my passion, and I really want to get into the research part for doing all of these phonetics, how these are made, and different parts of phonetics. So really want to gain a better insight into things. So for that, I'll do a research in phonetics with other people, with a professor. So we'll do a PhD. After this, I'll start building my career with, again, YouTube is just like a side thing for me, but I think for real, I'll just start with teaching people and teaching people different accents and all of those kind of stuff. But I also have this plan, is that I'm definitely going to prepare for a government exam in India for like becoming UPSC exam, of course, because that's been like it's been a long time since people have been asking me, like, you're going to do that, right? So yeah, I'm going to give that a go, definitely, because I really want to, also when I get the knowledge of my own country and, all of the knowledge regarding politics, economics, because that also intrigues me a lot. So we'll definitely do that as well.
You have your future planned out so well, and it's so organized, and I'm sure you are going to achieve that. Now,
thank you.
You said you know a little bit of Spanish, French, Japanese. And which other foreign languages? Which other?
Yeah, these are it by now.
And you're learning some more? Do you plan to learn a few more?
Done with my Spanish, because I'm still in the learning process of Spanish. Then after that, I think I'm going to give Chinese a try. It sounds people say it's very difficult, but people say, oh, it resembles Japanese. And I always find Japanese very interesting. So I'm like, yeah, let's give Chinese a try. Why not? Mandarin, speaking in Chinese. It's going to be great.
Right. Now, you are a motivational speaker. You have even spoken to IAS officers. Am I right?
Yeah.
Can you share with us that experience? What did you speak about? What was it like?
I was 12 years of age, and I still remember my dad said, you're going to go to a program. I was like, okay, it's going to be a normal program. Students are going to be there. I'm just going to motivate them, and then just going to come back home. It's going to be a great day. When we reach the venue, so over there, we see like cops standing everywhere and police sirens and everything. Oh, what is happening over here? Like some big. So I thought like maybe some minister is coming. So no big deal, because I've had meetings with ministers before. When I entered the venue, there were like 150 to 200 people sitting in like a seminar hall. So I went over there. I looked at like Janhavi Panwar, motivational speaker. I sat over there. I looked back and it said Anand Kumar, Super 30, motivational speaker. Wow, it's gonna be great. So I looked at my dad like, is he coming over here? I did not actually realize when he came, up until then, like, yes, he is actually here, because Anand Kumar, Super 30, it's a big deal. And then this media up to me and he goes like, Janvi, do you know all of these people sitting over here, they're all IAS officers? Huh? IAS officers. And I was like, I am the motivational speaker over here. I'm like, yes, that's a great thing, right? Very great. You don't realize how great this is, of course. Because I was just thinking, like, students aren't going to be there. Because I always speak spontaneously. If there are college students, I speak accordingly. If there are school students, I speak according to them. But if they're IS officers, what am I going to speak to them? Like, what is what I'm going to motivate? So, and then I looked on the the dais, and over there we had Chief Minister of Haryana, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar, and 2 or 3 other ministers as well. So I always thought, like, okay, the speaker is going to invite some other speakers. First, they're going to talk, then I'm going to mix something up, and I'm going to create a whole speech. That did not happen. The first name on the stage was mine. It's like, let us please have Janhavi Panwar. Like, why is the first name mine? My dad was like, remember, they've called you here for a reason. So I had 2 options, just like sit on my seat and say, no, I can't do that. Another thing, I can just go up there, tell those people my name, and tell them like who I am. It's gonna be a great deal. Like, some IS officers know my name. How great is it gonna be? The worst I can do is just mess up over there. They're just gonna think, oh, she's a kid, no worries. So that's the worst that can happen. So I went on the stage. The podium was too big for my height, so I stood between 2 ministers, the chief minister and another minister. I stood between them. I spoke for 20 minutes, like, how our country is supposed to be, how as a student I'm facing some problems, and how IES are the backbone of our country, and how you could help us students and for our next generation in such ways. I spoke for 20 minutes. I got a standing ovation at last. Had lunch with all of them. Oh, what a great day. I can never, ever forget that day. It was amazing. So it was all about confidence and, just knowing your self-worth. It's all about that. So yeah, just look on the bright side of things. Just look on the positive things. Everything's going to be great.
You have said that you speak with college students, school students. What is the essence of your speeches? What is that one message that you want to communicate with everyone when you go up there on stage?
Is that no motivational speaker can ever motivate you if you're not motivated yourself. It's all within yourself. If I'm going to give you a 15 minutes or an hour talk, nothing's going to happen if you're not ready to create a change in your life. It's all within yourself. Because if you really have the passion to do something, so you're not gonna be watching different motivational videos on YouTube. No, you're actually gonna be working towards your goal. So that's what I always say. And another thing I motivate them is to be positive, to be more upfront, and to be more confident, and to never be negative if you don't know anything, and to always consider criticism as the biggest blessing of your life, because the more criticism you're gonna get, the more you can improve yourself. I've always learned this, and this is what I always tell people.
Right. Now, you have been on social media, like you said, you have a following on YouTube. Today you find a lot of students, no doubt YouTube is good and no doubt social media is good. But you must have noticed, I don't know how many hours you spent on social media, but they spend a lot of time on social media, not in the right manner. They use it,
basically to squander
not productively.
their time.
So basically not very productively. What do you think about this, and how do you think we can use it to our advantage, social media?
See, I think nowadays, people are so focused on likes, on the comments, and the beautiful pictures they get, that they've stopped basically enjoying themselves, basically stopped enjoying where they are and living in the moment, because everything we ever do is for social media. So I think, me telling is that you're not spending your time productively on Instagram or in Facebook is not going to create any difference, because there is going to come a time in your lives, anyone who's listening to me and those students' lives, is that when they're going to be bored of everything, they're just going to think, oh, I literally haven't been doing anything productive. So the kind of voice, it's just going to come from inside your head, from inside your mind, like, yes, you're not doing anything productive. And I think if you have a great passion of doing something, the problem is that we have stopped looking forward to our future. We have stopped looking for a passion. We don't have an interest anymore. That's why we believe in wasting our time on social media. Other thing you can do is that you really find an interest. So when you have a certain interest in something great, in something amazing, so that's what you're going to spend your time on, and you won't have enough time for social media. You need to keep yourself busy, so you really need to find an interest of yours, a passion of yours, where you can spend all of your times, where you can be productive. Otherwise, me just saying is that you're wasting your time is not going to create even a minute of difference. So it's everything. People have to do that thing by themselves. No one can ever tell them, oh no, you're wasting your time, drop your phone. They're not going to do that because they like doing that. So if they're going to find something better to do, something they like doing more, so that's when they're going to drop using their social media. And yes, if you really want to do social media in a very productive manner, find an interest, and you're always going to search up people regarding your interest. Is that, how is this person doing? And that's going to motivate you from inside to do better than that person. Otherwise, you can keep watching reels, you can keep clicking pictures for your social media, you can keep getting those 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes. Not going to make a difference. So let's just please focus on ourselves, because that's going to be great. Believe me, guys, I'm speaking from personal experience right now, is that the more you're gonna squander your time on social media, there's gonna come a time when you're gonna realize by yourself, oh, I wasted a lot of time. So it's high time that you find an interest, because you're gonna enjoy this more. You're literally gonna enjoy this more. Even right now, if you're using social media, there's this voice inside your head telling, this is not good, you're wasting your time. But still, your hands, they're not capable enough of dropping your phone and doing something good. Because that's not the dominating thought. So make your interest your dominating thoughts, and you can do a lot of things.
Thank you. I think I'm now, every time I'm going to use my phone, I'm going to think about you, Janvi.
Oh my God, thank you.
All right. We now come to the last question of our program, and that is, what would, besides telling them to drop their phones and focus on their passion, what would you like to tell our viewers, especially youngsters? Because at 18, you have done and achieved so much. What advice would you like to give them? Do you have any suggestions?
I think, the biggest suggestion a person can be is for themselves. But what I'll definitely say is start looking at things positively, because there is just so much negativity in this world. Every time we see a person wearing good clothes, we always have this, envy. We are envious towards them. Like, why? Why is she wearing such good clothes? Why is he driving in such a big car? Why not us? So instead of focusing on those people, start focusing on your own lives. Start looking at things positively and stop expecting too much from different people, from different job opportunities. No. If somebody is criticizing you, then maybe they're criticizing you for your best. So instead of looking at that thing, oh, how dare he or how dare she, you can just say is that, maybe I need some improvement. So if you're not going to focus on the way things are said, if you're just going to focus on yourself and how you're interpreting certain things, that's going to create a lot of difference. So please, instead of all the negativities in the world, because you've got a long life ahead, start looking at things in a more positive way, in a more brighter side. Everything's going to be great. So yes, that's it. Just be positive, be more confident, be happy with what you are, and be grateful with what you already have. And you're going to create wonders. Just believe in yourself. That's it.
Thank you. Janvi, it has been a pleasure speaking with
Thank
you. And
thank you so much.
your talent, your skills, as well as your wisdom has come shining through. From all of us here at the studio, all the very, very best. And we hope to get an opportunity to speak with you again. To all our viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time and your patience. Until next time, bye from all of us here at the studio and from the Navin Times. Take care.